at me, Damien. It's all for you.
I adore the Omen franchise. So today we're going to talk about the original because June 25th, 1976, that's when the Omen came out, and it's now the 50th anniversary. I've made previous videos. I think I've discussed a couple things about the Omen, and it's a comfort movie for me. I love almost everything about it. Gregory Peck, I had a huge crush on him. The scene where he says that Kathy is dead, his emotion in that scene, the way he is shot with his head on the pillow, so he's sideways.
Kathy is dead. I want Damien to die too.
And for that scene, I always would lay down and just look at him straight on with my head tilted the same way. That scene still just breaks my heart. This movie has one of the best soundtracks ever, and Jerry Goldsmith did win an Oscar for this. And the way the music interacts with the credits, it's very subtle but really impactful. And so already you're just immersed in this amazing, weird, dark, religious-y horror movie. You're just, like, you have no choice. You're just going in. We're going in right away. So of course it opens up with Gregory Peck, and he is rushing to the hospital because his son is about to be born. And it's 6/6/6. 6th of June, 6th day, 6th month, 6 a.m. And this is Gregory Peck's one flaw throughout the whole movie. He is the sweetest, most thoughtful, caring person, and this one event, caught unawares, he just, in a moment's decision, changes the course of everything. We get immediate subterfuge. The staff at the hospital tells him his son is dead. The child has been born dead. He says his wife, Kathy, who's played by Remick, who is stunning, she will be devastated. This child meant so much to her, she will be destroyed by this. And he wants to protect her and help her. The priest shows him a child whose mother has also died and is now an orphan, and he suggests, here, take this one. Everyone will benefit from the situation. Just take it, raise it as your own. Because, of course, Kathy doesn't want an adopted child. So that brings in the element of subterfuge. Gregory Peck, Robert Thorne, he has to make the decision to switch out the babies because she won't go along with the adoption. The kid needs a set of parents. It's a win-win, kind of. And like I said, it's a split-second decision, but it's a very important decision that's going to impact everything. So, here, adopt this one. Your wife need never know about it. Great. So that's the one thing that Gregory Peck does in this movie that is just unfortunate, but he did it for love and for good reasons. Doesn't matter. Still bad. For my other movie reviews, you probably know that I love a good mirror shot. So we have a nun who's holding a baby, Damien, and we don't realize we're looking at her through a mirror. And then all of a sudden we see Gregory Peck appear, but it's not him, it's actually his reflection. And then the priest appears as well. And then, like, almost immediately after that, we get another shot where he has pulled up in a car and he's walking up the steps to his apartment. And it looks as though you are viewing the scene through the door and he's coming toward you. So, like, you're inside the foyer and he is coming toward you. But in actuality, we are seeing it from the street transpire in the reflection of the front door glass. So that also is just beautifully done, fascinating. I love cinematography like that. I love it. It's so impressive. We get a sense of the Thorns' relationship through a whole bunch of photos that were taken, and I firmly believe that Gregory Peck and Lee Remick could have been married and been a great couple. They really are stunning as a couple. They have so much in their gestures. It very much reminds me of Don't Look Now with Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland. Damien is turning 5, and they have this palatial ambassador house, and the party is taking place on the grounds of the house. Then we get the famous scene with the nanny. So she's at the birthday party, carting Damien around, and Kathy, Damien's mother, she gets annoyed because all the attention is on Holly, and it kind of looks like Holly is Damien's mom. Kathy kind of takes Damien, and then Holly looks over in the yard, and there is a Rottweiler, and I love the Rottweilers in this movie. They are so cute. And the next thing you know, Holly is up at the top of the house, having stepped out of a window onto this ledge, and she has a noose around her. And that's the famous, "Look at me, Damien, it's all for you." And she jumps and breaks the window behind her, which is epic. The shattering glass, everything, her body, it's so shocking. It's a glorious scene, and that just sets up the movie. All the deaths are so impressive to me. I saw behind the scenes footage of her being fitted for her harness, and she actually stood on the ledge. She actually went out there, and they had to pull away to give her the look of just being up there alone. And it was so impressive to me. And then, of course, you have the whole Omen curse, which maybe I'll do a video about that. I was obsessed with that documentary. Usually in terms of curses, you hear about The Exorcist or Poltergeist. Not so much The Omen. But I am fascinated by the events that coincided with this movie that just are unsettling and creepy. Robert goes back to work, and the press are waiting for him, and he just takes everything in stride. He's so likable. He is just polite and open with people. And even when he runs into Keith Jennings and knocks his camera over and apologizes, offers to replace it, it really wasn't his fault. Keith Jennings was just kind of hanging out in the way and was underfoot. I really like David Warner in this role, and I like the interaction that he and Gregory Peck have throughout this, especially once they join forces and start working together. I've just always liked their friendship. It's not even really a friendship, exactly, but I've always loved their scenes together. So this is our introduction to Father Brennan. He's the one who starts... See, this is... If he just talked like a normal person and said, "Hey, when I was at the hospital in Rome, the night that your son was born and you adopted that baby, I know some stuff. I know some things about it, and, let me sit down and tell you about it." But no, he was acting all weird and overly religious and obscure with his explanation, and Gregory Peck has him thrown out. So I feel like a lot of things could have been handled right there, but of course we need the drama for the movie. And Keith Jennings is very into taking photographs of the people, so he had taken some of Holly, the nanny, and he has taken some of Father Brennan. And so now we have this mystery evolving alongside of the whole Damien stuff. Keith Jennings has uncovered the fact that the nanny, as she got closer to death, there was a noose around her neck in the photos that he had taken before she died. Same with Father Brennan. He starts taking photos of Father Brennan and notices that there's this long pole that is heading toward his body. After Holly kills herself, the agency allegedly sends a new nanny. And of course this is the evil nanny, who looks fucking evil from the beginning. She acts like an evil minion of hell. And it's very chilling because she meets Damien and he's laying in front of a fireplace and the fire is roaring, like the fires of hell. And she says, "Have no fear, little one. I am here to protect thee." And he smiles at her, and just such a creepy smile. He actually says very little in this movie, but he is a good actor. But he did a good job with being crafty and unsettling. I think not talking too much actually probably helped. Yeah, Mrs. Baylock, she's just uppity. She is not likable. You know, she insists that she knows best. The Rottweiler who is around the house, she brings him into the house and hasn't told anyone, but, you know, it's just, she oversteps her bounds. She tells Kathy that she doesn't think Damien should go to church. She just oversteps. And then we have Kathy, who is starting to suspect the truth about Damien. She feels like he's not her kid, and she feels like he is evil. And things just keep happening that reinforce this. He's never been sick in his life. She takes him to a safari-themed zoo, and they get attacked by baboons. And she just realizes that this child is off. And she feels like she's going crazy because, to her credit, she assumes that she had this baby, it's hers, and why would it be evil? Father Brennan convinces Robert to meet with him so that they can discuss Damien, and Robert only goes because the priest says Kathy will die if he doesn't come. Which, that's one of my favorite scenes too, when Robert and Brennan they're sitting there in the park, Bishop's Park, which I went to London a long time ago. I wish I had found this park, if it exists. But that's when we hear Father Brennan recite the poem. He's still talking cryptically. I feel like if he had been a better ambassador and just told Mr. Thorne about what really happened. He felt bad about his part in it, but he really needs to make amends, and there were better ways to handle it. Father Brennan starts going back home, and this huge storm kicks up, which now as an older person I watch it and I'm thinking, oh my god, this guy is out there in this big, like, obviously constructed windstorm, but he has no eye protection. You know, there's this shit blowing all around, and I feel like it's kind of dangerous. And we get his death, which is impalement by this huge lightning rod that came from the top of the church. With the special effects, it was a lightweight piece of wood, just some kind of balsa wood, and it was on some guided string or rope of some kind, and it went behind his body, which it kind of looks like it's behind his body, not exactly through his body. But, you know, practical effect-wise, epic. So, of course, Jennings has taken photos of this, and, you know, we'll find out in a little bit what happens with that, but the priest had mentioned to Robert that Kathy is pregnant. He's like, no, she's not. When he goes home, she does tell Robert that she's pregnant and she wants an abortion because she can't have any more kids. She's too upset by her thoughts of Damien and his evilness and all this stuff. So then Kathy's alone in the house with Damien and Mrs. Baylock. Mrs. Baylock revs Damien up and has him going around and around on his tricycle. Well, this would predate that, but it reminds me so much of The Shining. Some of it. And Damien leaves his room on his tricycle and he heads out. Kathy is on a table. She is watering some plants and he just plows right into that table. She bounces off the wall and over the banister. And I appreciate the scene so much, but I've always thought it felt wrong. You know, for one thing, she's holding on. I just felt she could have dropped in a more controlled way so that she didn't end up on her stomach like she does in the actual scene. If I remember correctly, Richard Donner said that he shot it so that it's not a fall from above hitting the ground. She's upright, the floor is upright, and she gets thrown into this wall. And then they turn the shot so that it looks like she fell onto the floor. And I believe he said they used real goldfish, and they quickly scooped them back up and put them in the water because he didn't want to kill the fish. So it's an impressive shot, but it always felt strange to me. And even watching it now, it doesn't feel like that's how it would happen if you fell I'm guessing, 3 floors? So now Kathy's in the hospital. This is where Jennings and Robert Thorne start getting really involved with the investigation together. And Jennings shows him all the photos he's taken. So it's as though these people have some sort of aura around them that indicates how they will die. And the kicker is Keith took a photo of himself. He has this big old line across his neck to indicate that, something is going to sever his neck. But it always bothered me because it's not faint at all. And he doesn't die for quite a while from this point. So it just, I don't know. It feels like it was way more defined than anyone else's, but it is more impactful this way. So this is why Jennings feels he needs to insert himself, because he is on the chopping block. So Jennings and Thorne, they take a road trip. They go to Rome. They can't find the hospital because it's burned down. The records have been destroyed, so there's nothing about the adoption, even though there's likely not to have been anything on the adoption since it was all secretive. And a woman tells him to go to this monastery because that's where Father Spoleto, the guy who arranged the whole adoption, ended up. They go to this monastery. They find out that Damien's real mother is buried in this cemetery. It's such a great scene. It's a creepy cemetery, very intimate, isolated. There's a wrought iron gate. It's very beautiful. And it's tense. It's one of my favorite scenes. They find that the body of the mom is actually a jackal skeleton. So Damien's mother is a jackal, which is why I will not watch the new Omen that came out. I don't like this idea of retconning it so that he had a real woman be his mother. The scene is super tense because they also find that there is a child's skeleton, which is Robert Thorne's actual child, and he had his head bashed in at the time of birth. So they killed his baby just so that they could give him this substitute devil baby. Antichrist baby. So then we get a whole bunch of Rottweilers who descend upon the graveyard and start attacking the men. They escape, but not before Robert impales his arm. Ugh, it's so gross. The thought of it. Robert comes clean with Kathy and they have a cute phone conversation where he says, I need you to come to me. I need you to get out of London, out of the hospital where you're vulnerable, and you need to come to me and I'll explain everything once you're here. Well, she never makes it because fucking Baylock pushes her out the window of the hospital. And that was another death scene that was not likely because she falls out the window, which, okay. She lands on the roof of an ambulance and the doors swing open and she's just laying there with just a trickle of blood coming out of her nose. Her face isn't pulped or anything, when you would think there'd be a whole bunch of laceration. I don't know. It was an elegant looking corpse. And then that's where we get the scene where Robert hears about her death over the phone and your heart just breaks and you want to comfort him and you can tell that he loved her so much. And it's so sad when he has this conversation with Jennings and at the end he says, Kathy is dead and I want Damien to die too. So then things really start amping up and they go to Bugenhagen's archaeology dig and Bugenhagen says, okay, we gotta kill this Antichrist, but only Robert Thorne gets to see this information. It's for him alone, which I've always had a problem with. Damien is so powerful and he has people protecting him, then shouldn't Jennings also know how to kill Damien if there's a specific way? Because apparently there is. You have to stab him first in the heart to extinguish physical life, and then you have to do stabbings with all the other knives to extinguish the spiritual life. So we find out that Baylock is actually an apostate of hell and she can be killed, but she does seem to have extraordinary strength. Maybe that's not true. Maybe it's just the movie made her stronger than she actually would be, but it does appear that she is more capable of, beating someone's ass than you would think an old woman would be. So we get to my favorite death of the whole thing, and it's Bugenhagen has given the knives to Thorne. He and Jennings are walking through the street, and Robert has these second thoughts. He's like, no, I'm not doing this. This is dumb. I don't want to kill an innocent child. I'm out. And he throws the bundle of knives And he's just like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Jennings says, well, fuck that. I'm going to do it then. So he runs to pick up the knife. So then we get this huge showdown with Baylock because Robert, he still wants to make sure, so he's looking for the birthmark, the 666 birthmark, and he has to cut Damien's hair, and he's doing it, and Baylock is asleep in the room, you know, which I feel like he should have, I don't know. I don't know what he should have done about that, but he got surprised, and she jumps him, and they get this huge fight. And I was just always really happy when Thorne killed Baylock. So then we have him kind of toss Damien into the car. And it's unfortunate that he's such a high-profile man because he can't really do any of this without tipping off the authorities because he's rushing out, but he can't really stop because he's covered in blood. So they're going to ask him and stop him. So I don't know. It's a no-win. So he takes Damien to this church and he's ready to stab him. And the cop has burst in, says, don't do that, you know, and then fires because Robert's like, I'm doing it. And we go to the funeral, and of course now I know who's in the caskets, but originally you don't know who has died. You know, is it Robert and Damien? Is it Kathy and Damien? Like, there are two caskets. But of course it's Robert and Kathy, and Damien is standing in between the president and the first lady, and he gives the creepiest smile, which is perfect. I will always love The Omen. I never get tired of watching it. I have seen it so many times. It's not a perfect movie, but to me it is perfect enough. And I still think that, you know, the things that they were able to accomplish with that movie are just not valued enough nowadays. I love it. Have a spooky day.